Hello my loves, happy Valentine's Day. We're filming this video on Valentine's Day because why? Let me fix my camera. Why? Because Valentine's Day starts with self-love. Let's talk about today how to balance self-care and ambition as a modern woman. It's been a long time since I chat to you guys, but look at me. I'm all dressed for V-Day just for you guys. So it's gonna be a very good conversation that we're having today. You already know that. These are just some of the things that I do to make sure that I'm prioritizing my self-care, but also being the ambitious and go-getter girl that I wanna be. So let's start. So number one, the first thing that I started doing in order to better balance my self-care as a modern woman is to practice saying no. This is transparently something, like, if I'm being completely honest, I'm still struggling with this major. I have a sense of guilt that comes over me whenever I say no, especially when it's to my loved ones. I don't know how to set a boundary that is both kind and compassionate, but also honest. I'm trying to figure my way out of it, but I notice how much of a difference it makes when I do practice saying no in a way that's authentic to me. I say no when I mean no, and I say yes when I mean yes. And it's not vice versa. Oftentimes, especially in the past, I would say yes when I meant no and no when I meant yes. And whenever I did stick to the practice of being able to authentically say what it is that I actually mean, I've always felt better as a result. And this is the thing I realized too in my life. This is the curse of not being true to yourself. And it's every time you betray yourself in that way or you abandon yourself in that way, you always pay a price. You always pay the price for it. And I've noticed this pattern so much. And that is actually more motivation for me to stop doing it. So I practice saying no as much as possible. I practice decision making. Listen, when it comes to decision making, I'm being so honest, I'd rather hand it over to somebody else and not make decisions at all. I don't know what it is. I just can't make many decisions for the life of me. I think I'm just a very simple person. I don't like to think too much about things. I like when things are a little bit more in a flow, and I feel like decision making sometimes fills my head up so quickly and it's just overstimulating, okay? So I try my best to practice decision making as much as it is such a hard thing for me to do. I try to convince myself that I'm a good decision maker and go from there. When it comes to people-pleasing tendencies, because we all have them, right? Or most of us do. I definitely still have a few of them as well. One of the ways that I was able to get over these tendencies was to practice showing up for myself consistently. And eventually, my cat's eating her food. Eventually, you start to trust yourself more. And the more you trust yourself, the more you feel so aligned inside and so much like a divine goddess. I swear, like, every time I respond to my internal needs or follow my intuition, I'm rewarded in every single beautiful and amazing and trusted way of the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe in. And I just love that so much. It's not that I'm looking for the reward when I'm making these decisions, but I always think about how would I feel afterward when I said no to something that I actually want to say yes to, that I'm going to think about it all night, and then I'm going to have worried about the fact that I missed out on the opportunity, or said yes when I meant no, and then I depleted myself and now I feel resentful in a way. I think resentment is a huge emotion that underlies that, is that nobody's asking you to do anything. You got to learn how to make your own decisions. And this is me talking to myself. This is advice to myself, because I've really learned this about myself this year. And honestly, I'm not one to put it out there, but I like to be self-aware. So yeah, I'm aware of the fact that I can't say no. I'm aware of the fact that I can't really make decisions. It's not like I can never say no, but it's like when it pertains to certain things, it's just an issue sometimes. So I'm practicing that right now, but trust me, it feels amazing. I used to always feel obligated to show up for other people at the expense of my own happiness. An example of this would be, like, I promised myself I would do something really important, and then if I got invited on a night out, I would go to the night out instead. And then I would trust myself less and less, and that's when that pattern begins to build. So you have to kind of watch out for that. Number two, let's talk about overestimating and underestimating the amount of stuff that you can get done in a day. So don't overestimate or underestimate the amount of stuff that you can get done in a day, because it will eventually lead to burnout. So my personal experience with this, and the reason I tried to make this one of the key points of the video, is because I swear to you, I used to be able to get so many things done on a to-do list. I would be crushing it, you guys. When I didn't have, obviously my channel's a blessing and amazing and I love it. And I knew that this would be the sacrifice that I would have to make. I have less time having a channel and doing so many other things and balancing so many other things and aspects of life. But Before I had my channel, I felt like if I had a to-do list, almost every day, everything would be checked off on my to-do list. I remember one time I was sitting down and thinking about it because I wasn't able to focus. And I was going through my to-do list and I was realizing that I didn't actually get, my God, last night was Galentine's Day, Galentine's night. So if my voice is crazy, that's why. But I sat down with myself one day. I was going through my to-do list, my checklist, and I realized that there was so much on my checklist that I actually didn't check off. And they always say with checklists and things like that, aim for about 80% of your checklist. I was probably doing about 40 to 60%, which is me now. But I realized I'm so lucky, and this is where gratitude is such a powerful thing. Well, gratitude is powerful always. Always gonna keep preaching that. So you're gonna get tired of hearing it, but you need to ingrain that in your head. I always feel grateful for the fact that I have so many different aspects of my life that I care so much about. I have so many different people in my life that I care for and love so deeply now that my time and my energy is distributed in different ways. And now there's other things that take up more of my time and energy. So I have less time to do some of the things that I used to always want to do. Even the self-care things, sometimes I miss meditation. Sometimes I don't read for days on end, which is crazy because before I used to read no matter what, and it would never be like, it would always be like a no questions asked thing. But at the end of the day, I realize how lucky I am to be fortunate to have so many things that I need to worry about. I'm so grateful for that. If you are an ambitious woman and you're hustling and you're doing things with your day, constantly having that gratitude of being like, look at my problems though, like look what I'm dealing with. Obviously not all the time your problems are not going to be, sometimes your problems will be very bad and it will hit you very deeply, but at the end of the day, look at the things that you're worrying about. I'm worrying about taking care of myself. If I missed a meditation, I'm like, oh, I'm worried about the fact that I want to take care of myself deeper. And that thought in and of itself just lifts my spirits because I'm like, that is a good worry to have. That really changed the game for me. I would overestimate the amount of things that I can do now because I have more to do in my day than I did before. And then other days, I'm so burnt out that I underestimate how much I'm able to do in a day when actually I can push myself a little further that day. Does that make sense? I think when you can find that sweet spot with yourself where you're not pushing yourself so much and you're not doing too little where you feel like you're not making any progress is a game changer for balancing self-care and ambition. That way you feel like you're tending to your needs, but you're not being lazy. That's the simplest way to say it. When I kind of go a little bit away from this point, it kind of has a lot to do with this, so I put it in like the same kind of subcategory. Anyways, let's talk about it. How do you balance in general, how to balance, okay? Step 1, make note of important stuff and non-negotiables for the day. So for me, as an example, so it makes it easier for you guys to understand, for me, that's sleep, gym, Pilates, yoga, so wellness, basically. Sleep and movement are basically my two mains, and you need to figure out what that is for you. What are your non-negotiables? What are things that you're like, I absolutely cannot leave the house unless I do these things? Obviously not in an obsessive and crazy maniac way. It's a rule of thumb and it's a guide for you feeling your best when you are tending to the outside world. Step number 2 is to set aside a good time of day to perform your non-negotiables. So for me, that's straight out of bed. It's because I'm a morning person. If that does not work for you, don't do it in the morning. I don't know where, I often hear people say, I have to be a morning person. I have to be a morning person, this and that. I get where those people are coming from, but I don't agree that morning people are the most productive. I don't know. I've seen people wake up, night people do just as much. I've seen people work out at night and they're cleaning at night and everything, and they're so productive at night because that's when their body thrives the best. Obviously, I think you can rewire your system. You can train yourself to be a morning person if that's what you want. But if naturally you're somebody who likes to be awake at night and that's what you enjoy, there's no shame in doing your routine or doing your non-negotiables in the nighttime, in my opinion. When you're doing these non-negotiables, I just want to make note of the fact that you should be less available around the time that you're doing these tasks. So this is when you have the opportunity to practice saying no. You see, it's like a je ne sais quoi, it's like a flow. Set aside the non-negotiables for the day, but understand that yes, you are a superwoman, you are amazing, really beautiful, all these other things, but you cannot do everything there is to do in the world. If the most important tasks are completed, allow yourself the ability to relax a little, which goes into my next point about cycle syncing. If this is something that is a foreign concept to you, if you've never heard of the term, you are missing out. I started cycle syncing about, I want to say a month ago, or like 1 or 2 months ago. I remember, and this might be TMI for some people, but I remember my January period being the most smoothest period I've ever had. My symptoms, my mindset, and I guess my emotions were kind of up in the air, if I'm being honest, but that's just me. I think I'm just like naturally 10 times more emotional than I am. Like imagine I'm already emotional. So on my period, it's just like, anyways, it's changed everything for me, and I cannot believe how much I was missing out. So if you're not familiar with what it is, cycle syncing is essentially when at different phases in your period cycle, because we have a 28-day period, there's 4 different phases, and I'm going to go to my notes app and I'm going to look at what those 4 phases are, because I don't really know the order off the top of my head. So number 1 is the menstrual phase, which is when you're on your period. Number 2, you enter your follicular phase. Number 3, you go into your ovulatory phase, was when you're ovulating. And then 4, you go into your luteal phase. And then you go, and then it repeats basically. I made like a little note when I found out about the 4 different phases, because I'd never had any knowledge of it prior, and you'd think I would, but I just never did. So I basically went into the details of it. I did so much research. I tried to find books that I could read on it. I went on my notes app. I made the foods I should eat for certain phases, what I should be doing during those phases, how heavy I should be lifting, how much activity, how much rest, and basically which vitamins I'm most deficient in, so which ones I should be taking in terms of like supplements and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm not going to touch too much on the phases in detail. If you are interested in it, then you can search it up. There's so much information out there about cycle, the 4 phases of the cycle, and what you should be eating and all that. And obviously curate it to your own body and your own needs. As an ambitious woman, I think that often we try to go the extra mile all the time, no matter what phase that we're in. And I think that it really validated, cycle syncing in general, just validated my ability to kind of just relax. And realizing that my body is so different every day, and every day I feel like a new person. And that's not even me being dramatic, but like there's just certain days that my mind works in different ways that I can't even really explain to anybody, and I don't know or really understand it for myself. And I don't think my body wants me to obsessively try to understand it. I think my body just wants to be and exist as it is right now. I think knowing that and learning that has made my phases so much easier to go through in so much more of a smoother way too. This means honestly for me that I cannot do things the same way all the time. I understand that I have to work with whatever my energy levels are and whatever phase I'm in. So I understand that I'm going to have more energy and efficiency with my work and my workouts and whatever during my follicular phase. I love the follicular phase. I feel like I could rule the world, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way too. But I obviously don't feel exactly that way in my luteal phase, even though I'm trying to maximize what I can do as much as possible in order to make sure I feel my best. But again, your body is going through so many changes that you're gonna have to just let it do its thing. It knows what it's doing. That's what I always say, trust your body, it knows what it's doing. Number 4, practice 60% softness and 40% hardcore. This is the rule of thumb that I try to use for my life currently, but there's been a lot of different phases in my life where I've had to kind of split that number in different ways. It's been the opposite sometimes, or even less softness, or even less softness, and then other times so much more softness and a lot less hardcore. So hardcore stuff refers to anything that has to do with working hard, studying, pulling late nights. That's the 40% of your life, or that's what I like to say, make that the 40% of your life. And 60% as a woman, and this is just my own way of doing it, okay? And the 60%, the remaining 60%, and this is just me, this is the formula that I found works the best for me and makes me the most happy, revolves around receptivity, detachment, non-striving, and letting go. So anything that has to do with feminine energy. So another way to look at this is assessing how you are going to use your masculine and your feminine energy in regards to different aspects of your life. Obviously, when I'm doing my work, I take a little bit more of a, whatever this means, approach. And then with the other aspects of my life, I'm a little bit more, carefree and flowing and, whatever it is. Even though lately I haven't been really feeling like that, I think a lot is changing in my life right now, or at least I'm thinking in different ways and things are kind of shifting. I see my reality moving in certain ways. And so it does scare me, and it makes me want to be on my feet and kind of be in my masculine energy in a way, because I'm kind of like trying to protect myself. I can see that, if I'm being completely honest. Here's the thing to note about detachment as well when it pertains to feminine energy. And I randomly thought about this one day, either in the shower when I was like laying on my bed or something, but detachment is not a quality that someone can have, but it's a lifestyle, it's a way of life, and it's something that someone has to learn to adapt. Adopt. My voice is giving out. I don't know how much longer I can talk for, but I'm so passionate that my voice is coming from my passion, which is my next point. Number 5, integrate passion into the work that you do. You've got to do what you're passionate about, my love. I think that because I do what I'm passionate about, it gives me so much life and purpose. And I don't think that it's something that you can understand unless you yourself are practicing that in your own life as well. If what you're doing now is not making you happy, you've got to plan a way for things to change. Whether it's look for other jobs, switch your major. I know that I'm saying it lightly, when in fact, in reality, these are actually major life changes. So I'm not trying to, undermine how much of a big life change it is, but it is a decision that you will never regret making if you made the right one. If you decided that, you know what, this is not for me, I'm going to make that drastic shift where I'm going to take the leap of faith, and I'm going to take the leap of faith. You're only here once. Take the leap of faith. And this is advice to myself too. But lately, I've done a lot of really challenging things mentally, I think, and emotionally too, and spiritually too, that it's actually added a lot more flavor to my life in some way. And it's always the times, and I know it sounds cringy and weird and like an Instagram reel type moment, but the times that it feels the most scariest to jump, that's exactly when you have to just jump. I heard that on Instagram somewhere. When what you're doing is something that you're genuinely passionate about, you are less likely to feel overwhelmed about getting something done. I think I give myself so much grace when it pertains to my channel because I know that I love it, and every time I do it, I'm doing it from a genuine place of wanting to share, and also wanting to live my life. I don't think it's selfish to say that I'm doing it for me too. I learned so much about myself being on YouTube, and putting myself out there has taught me I'm so happy that I took the leap of faith to start my channel. So if you're in a point where you feel like, you know what, I really want to make some changes, this is your time to do it. There's never going to be a right time. There's never going to be a perfect time. Just do it. Do it. Number 6, celebrate your progress, big and small. You have to find an even balance between knowing when to clap for yourself and also at the same time keep striving to achieve more, but one can't be greater than the other. So you need an even balance between celebrating yourself, celebrating your wins, but not growing complacent, comfortable, and actually being able to move forward, knowing that you did what you needed to do and now you're aiming for bigger and you keep going. I try to celebrate every single milestone that I reach, and I know how much sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to celebrate it. It's fine. It's something small. I just want to keep going. It's not where I want to be yet. But I think that type of mindset really doesn't get you very far. The thing that really makes me happy is celebrating every single moment, every single time something, even the smallest thing happens. I think that has been such a game changer for me. If you don't take the time to celebrate yourself, then the journey is not going to be that enjoyable in general. And as much as people are like, oh no, I'm not where I want to be yet. My goal, I didn't hit my goal. I'm not a millionaire yet. I'm not a billionaire yet. At the end of the day, I think I've seen the happiest people be the ones to be like, wow, I really just did that. Okay, now that means that I can do more. Balancing self-care and ambition as a modern woman entails having to be there to clap for yourself and also be your number one cheerleader and keep yourself going. And that's what I mean by balance, is having that even balance is so important, right? So doing that has really made all the difference for me. I love every step of the journey, and I appreciate it for what it is. Let's talk about number 7, learn to think for yourself. This is actually a point that, and I'm going to put the little captions, well, by now you already seen the captions, but one of you guys requested that I put the little text box here, so I changed it. I'm going to do that now. Learn to think for yourself. This was one of the points that I made. Actually, it was supposed to be for my last video, but I completely skipped over it and didn't even realize that it was on my notes for the video. So I'm going to add it into this one because I think it applies to several different aspects of life. Thinking for yourself applies to pretty much all the most important aspects of life. So, and by think for yourself, I mean, just because our best friend of over 35 plus years or something like that says something about somebody and makes a judgment about them doesn't mean that you have to adapt. I still don't know which one to use. Just correct me on it. The same mindset as them toward the person. In other words, learn not to allow other people to taint your perspective on people, places, ideas, unless you yourself have first-handedly experienced something. If you have experienced something, then you can make your own interpretation of it, and you don't need other people to agree with you. And that's real power. You don't need other people to agree with you. How you think is how you think. What you think is what you think. When you think about it, oscillating between the balance of being successful but also taking care of yourself is a hefty task sometimes. You don't have to let other people's opinions about the way you want to do things get in the way of your ambition or femininity. Even when it came to my channel, when I first started, I had so many different people telling me so many different opinions about the route that I should take. I knew what I wanted to do with my channel from the jump, and I was very sure of my intention going into it. And there was no way that anybody was ever going to change my mind on it. And I tried to take that same approach to other things in my life that I feel like I know what's best. Sometimes you really do know what's best, but sometimes you don't. That is something that's a very important thing to realize too. And I hate realizing it because I'm like, what do you mean I can't do it by myself? Okay. But it's something that's so important to realize. The people can teach you so much if you just open your mind. And I learned that the most this year, meeting the most lovely, amazing, beautiful, kind-hearted people. It makes somebody so unique and attractive and magnetic when they just know for themselves what it is, what's up. Number 8, I don't have an 8th point, but I just made this off the top of my head while we were talking about it. I actually posted this on my Instagram because I did a Q&A on my Instagram, and this is one of the answers that I gave, but I thought that I would share it to my YouTube audience as well because I think it's something that's so important for every woman to hear, or every person to hear, I should say. Falling in love too deeply with the aesthetics of self-development. I think that's where the danger really lies, and it's happened to me. It still happens to me sometimes too. I think people really glorify what self-development is and what it should be and what it looks like, what person it looks like so heavily that we feel like we're always constantly behind. Developing yourself is so much more than that, and it requires so much internal hardship and like emotions and reaching places in yourself that you're like, what the heck? I didn't even know this even was a thing. I didn't even know this place existed. And sometimes those places are very painful, but going through those ebbs and flows is what makes somebody a developed person, in my opinion. But falling in love with this aesthetic of a person or an aesthetic of an idea, and that's not even real, it's just on social media. Online is fake. Online is fake, okay? I'll be the first one to tell you. Always keep in mind that self-development is so much deeper than that, and it goes way beyond how you look. And I always talk about the importance of taking care of your external for sure, but not in the way that, I think it's portrayed on social media, or that self-development makes it out to seem like you have to be this person or this ideal type of person in order to do it. I think also that what that does is convince people that they're incapable of doing things. And this is the thing I was realizing when I was eating breakfast this morning. I was like, oh my God. When I first found out about manifestation, I always used to think only special people, like there's something special about people who can manifest. When I heard manifestation stories, I watched The Secret documentary or whatever, like anything to do with manifestation, I was like, oh, those people are special. Those people have something else. Those people grew up like this. But everybody is equally as abundant and capable in the same way. You just have to learn that the key here is that a lot of people say, I'll do this when I get to this point. I'll do this when I have this, or when I look like this, or when I this. It's only the people that already act like they're there and they start and they do the thing anyway that actually arrive at that place. They don't care about what time of day it is. They don't care about what type of season it is. They don't care about the circumstances, their environment, or whatever it is, the fact that they don't have this or that. They just do it. They just go. They make the traction. They build the traction, basically. That's such a powerful thing to make note of. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked, but my main point here was falling in love with the aesthetics of self-development does not work. If you want to, get the cute workout set and this and that and whatever, that's completely fine. I think to a certain extent, you can obviously enjoy whatever rewards it reaps, but self-development in and of itself is such an internal journey, and never let anybody tell you that it's like a very ideal one size fits all cookie cutter vibe thing, Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I love you so much. Happy Valentine's Day. If you don't have a Valentine, I'm your Valentine, okay? I'm recording a podcast episode next week about how to know if you're ready for a relationship. If you guys are interested about hearing about it, I was actually going to post it this week for Valentine's Day, but I didn't get to it. But it's okay. It's okay. We're going to do it next week. I was meant to do it next week, so we're going to do it next week. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one.